Sha'Carri Richardson is about to step into the most brutal 100-meter field of her entire career, and this time there is no safety net waiting for her if something goes wrong. 6 former world or Olympic medalists are lined up against her. 4 of them have already run under 10.90 seconds this season. Only one heat stands between her and the final, and if she slips even once, there is no semi-final round to save her. This is the 2026 Prefontaine Classic, and for the first time in its 51-year history, it is landing on the 4th of July, part of the country's 250th birthday celebration at Hayward Field. 17 sprinters are entered in the women's 100 meters, and the lineup reads less like a regular Diamond League stop and more like a World Championship final. Here is what makes this even more dangerous for Richardson. At the World Championships, sprinters get 3 rounds: a heat, a semi-final, then the final. At Hayward Field this weekend, there are only 2 rounds. 1 heat, then straight into the final. No cushion, no second read on the competition, no room for a slow start to fix itself later in the day. And Richardson knows exactly what a slow start can cost her. 2 years ago in Paris, she looked like the woman to beat in the Olympic 100-meter final. A slow reaction off the blocks let Julian Alfred of St. Lucia get away early, and Richardson could never close the gap. She crossed the line in 10.87 for silver, with training partner Melissa Jefferson taking bronze right behind her. She answered days later, anchoring Team USA to gold in the 4x100-meter relay. But it also proved how fast one bad start can end a race that looked hers to win. Then 2025 happened, and it tested her even more. Richardson arrived at the World Championships in Tokyo as the defending champion, carrying a bye into the later rounds. But an injury had slowed her early season, and her form never fully came together. In her semi-final, a slip at the start forced the entire field to restart. When the race finally went off again, Richardson stumbled out of her transition and had to fight just to survive, scraping into the final as one of the fastest non-automatic qualifiers by the smallest of margins. In the final itself, she finished 5th in 10.94, missing the podium in the exact event she had won 2 years earlier in Budapest. She broke 11 seconds only once the entire season. That is the version of Richardson this brutal field is daring to show up again. But this year has told a completely different story. On June 22nd, Richardson ran 10.77 seconds at the Star Athletic Sprint Series in Florida, her fastest time since 2023, when she ran 10.71 at the USA Outdoor Championships on this very same track. That run also made her the second fastest woman in the world this season. The speed is back. Now she has to prove it holds up against a field built to punish any mistake at all. Standing right in her way is her own training partner, Melissa Jefferson-Wooden. Jefferson-Wooden is the reigning world champion, and she is the single biggest threat in this entire field. She enters Eugene fresh off a win at the Stockholm Diamond League in 10.84, and she has not lost a 100-meter race since the Paris Olympic final, where she took bronze right behind Richardson. In Tokyo last year, she ran a championship record of 10.61, making her the 4th fastest woman in history. She is also the defending Prefontaine Classic champion, having won this exact race in 2025 in 10.75. The two of them share a coach, share a training group, and share the same track most mornings of the week. None of that will matter once the gun goes off. Jamaica is bringing its own wave of danger. Shericka Jackson is chasing a comeback story of her own after a series of struggles in 2024 forced her out of the Paris Olympics entirely, a brutal blow for a 2-time world 200-meter champion. She fought back in 2025, finishing 4th at the Tokyo Worlds in 10.88, and has looked sharp all through 2026. Clayton, the reigning world silver medalist in this event, ran a personal best of 10.76 in that same Tokyo final, and she arrives in Eugene alongside her twin sister Tia Clayton, giving Jamaica 2 more sprinters capable of running with anyone in the field. 4 women in this race have already dipped under 10.90 this season, and that list includes Richardson, Jefferson-Wooden, Jackson, and Tina Clayton all at once. Then there is the name most casual fans have not heard yet. Adja Hajj, representing the British Virgin Islands, just ran 10.63 seconds at the NCAA Championships at this exact stadium, making her the 5th fastest woman in history. She enters the weekend as the world leader in the event this season. And she is doing it as a college athlete, stepping into a field of full-time professionals with nothing to lose and everything to gain. Britain's Dina Asher-Smith rounds out the star power. She finished 8th in last year's World Final and recently moved her training base back to London after leaving her longtime coaching group in Texas. 6 medalists, a collegiate record holder, a 5th fastest performer of all time. Richardson has to get past every single one of them in just 2 rounds to reach the top of the podium. Fans in Eugene have seen Richardson win here before, twice, but this version of the Prefontaine Classic is not the one she won in 2023 or 2024. Those fields did not carry 6 medalists and a world leader all at once. A 3rd Hayward Field title would mean more this year than it ever has, precisely because so many people expect her to fall short again after Tokyo. Nobody had Audrey Wero winning this race. Nobody. Keely Hodgkinson walked into the Stockholm Diamond League on June 7, 2026 as the Olympic champion, fresh off breaking the world indoor 800-meter record, unbeaten all season, and with a public promise to go the entire year without losing a single 800-meter race. That promise lasted exactly 1 outdoor race, because a 22-year-old Swiss athlete nobody seriously feared came out of nowhere and ran 1 minute 53.98 seconds, the 3rd fastest 800-meter time in the history of women's running. Let that sink in for a second. To understand why this is so insane, you need to know where Keely Hodgkinson was coming into this race. The 24-year-old from Atherton, England, trained by the husband and wife duo Trevor Painter and Jenny Meadows out of Wigan, had arguably the greatest indoor season any 800-meter runner has ever had. In February, she ran 1:54.87 in Live, France, smashing a 23-year-old world indoor record by nearly a full second. Then in March, she took World Indoor Championships. She was not just good, she was the best in the world by a massive margin, and everyone knew it. Her goal this season was the one record nobody has touched in 43 years, Jarmila Kratovlov's outdoor world record of 1:53.28, set back in 1983, the oldest world record in track and field. Before Stockholm, she ran a 400-meter at the Rome Diamond League finish, but that was deliberate, a speed-building exercise. She clocked a half-second personal best in the 400 as part of the plan to get faster for the big 800-meter assault later in the year. Everything was on track. Now let's talk about the woman who ended that perfect run. Audrey Wero, 22 years old. From Switzerland, turns 23 this year. She had been quietly building for a while, European under-23 champion, long-time age group circuit regular, and someone who finished second behind Hodgkinson at World Indoors in March, but well off the pace, to the point where almost nobody considered her a genuine threat for the one. The one warning sign came just 1 week before Stockholm, on May 31st, at the Rome Diamond. She ran 1:56.56, the fastest time in the world that year up to that point. People barely noticed. Big mistake. The race itself was set up to be fast. The pacing lights were dialed in for 1:54.0 flat, meaning from the gun the field was chasing something serious. Wero tucked in directly behind the pacemaker. Hodgkinson settled into 3rd. They came through the first lap in 54 seconds, egregiously fast, one of only a handful of first lap splits ever recorded anywhere near that quick. At 500 meters, Keely made the move she always makes. She surged past the pacemaker, took the lead, and expected to pull away. That is how every race of hers goes. Instead, Wero came with her, completely glued. The two of them broke off from the rest of the field together, leaving everyone else behind. Rounding the final bend, Keely looked strained, which makes sense given that pace. Wero looked almost calm, and in the final 100 meters, Wero found a gear nobody knew she had, powered past the Olympic champion, and hit the line first. Keely said afterwards, "I saw her shadow and I was like, no, she's not going to do it." She did it. Wero's winning time of 1:53.98 makes her only the 3rd woman in history to break 1 minute 54 seconds. The only 2 faster are Kratovlov at 1:53.28 and Nadezhda Olizarenko at 1:53.43. And here is the part that every serious track fan already knows, but needs saying again: those 2 times were run inside the Soviet and Eastern Bloc state-sponsored doping era. Olizarenko ran her 1:53.43 at the 1980 Moscow Olympics, an event so chemically corrupt it was literally nicknamed the Chemist Games, where not a single athlete tested positive because the host country ran the testing. Kratovlov ran hers in 1983 at the tail end of the same era. A huge number of diehard fans consider Wero's 1:53.98 the real world record. More importantly, she jumped from the 34th fastest woman ever to the 3rd fastest in a single race. cutting almost 2 full seconds off her personal best. That is one of the most dramatic single-race jumps through the all-time list this event has ever seen. And Hodgkinson's 1:54.33 in second place was a British record and the 6th fastest time in history. She ran the race of her life and still lost. That tells you exactly how good Wiro was on that day. What happened after the race told the story even better than the clock. Wiro was visibly stunned. She said, "I still need to process. I am still in shock." She said in the final 100 meters, she still had energy left in her legs, and she just committed completely treating it like the final of the European Championships. Her main goal this season is gold at Europeans in Birmingham in August, and she said plainly, "Maybe now my goal is the gold medal." Then she added the big one: the world record is also now on her radar. Meanwhile, Keely was honest and fired up at the same time. She admitted she was shocked, but she said, "I won't let that happen again." And then came the quote that matters most: "Now I believe the world record can fall this year." Her target is the London Diamond League in July, and she is going there specifically to attack 1:53.28. Here is what has genuinely changed after Stockholm. 3 days ago, this was one athlete chasing an impossible record alone. Now it is a 2-woman race. Wiro is 22. Hodgkinson is 24. Both are still approaching their primes. Both tend to run their fastest times later in the season, peaking around August and September, which is exactly when the European Championships and World Athletics Championships land. Wiro holds the edge in raw numbers right now, faster 400-meter and 800-meter PRs. Hodgkinson has the experience, the consistency, and frankly the anger now. The world record sits at 1:53.28, and 1:53.98 is still 70 hundredths away from it, but for the first time in 43 years, there are 2 women young enough, fast enough, and hungry enough to go get it together. The big question is simple: who takes it first? And do you think it happens this year? Drop your answer below, because this season just became one of the most exciting in middle distance history. Noah Lyles just ran 9.88 seconds in Rome and walked straight to the microphone and said something so bold that the entire sprint world stopped scrolling. This was not just another Diamond League win. This was a message, a warning, and it had 2 names on it. Let me take you inside what actually happened on June 4th, 2026 at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome, Italy during the Golden Gala Pietro Manea, one of the most respected stops on the Wanda Diamond League circuit. The field that night was not normal. You had Marcel Jacobs, the man who won 100-meter gold at the Tokyo Olympics. You had Letsail Tebogo from Botswana, the reigning Paris Olympic 200-meter gold medalist. You had Ferdinand Omanyala, the African record holder who had already run under 10 seconds 5 times this year and came into Rome telling everyone the roof was about to blow off. You had Emmanuel Sma from Cameroon, and then you had Jordan Anthony, the 21-year-old American who trains at the exact same facility as Lyles every single day under coach Lance Brahman at Pure Athletics in Clermont, Florida. The same Jordan Anthony who back in March 2026 at the US Indoor Championships beat Noah Lyles in the 60-meter dash and then pulled out a fake heavyweight championship belt and paraded around like he had just taken the crown. That belt moment was everywhere, and Lyles did not forget it, not even close. When the gun fired in Rome, Lyles did not win the start. He never does. His reaction time was actually the slowest in the field. Through 60 meters, the race was still completely open. The field was right there with him, but then came the final 20 meters. His stride pattern shifted, his turnover accelerated, and one by one, every single man in that race got left behind. Lyles crossed the line in 9.88 seconds. Sma came in second at 9.94, which was a brand new Cameroon national record. Tebogo took third in 9.95. Jordan Anthony faded to fourth in 9.96. Marcel Jacobs finished fifth in 9.99 in front of his home crowd. 5 men under 10 seconds in the same race. And Omanyala, the man who promised fireworks, finished 8th in 10.11. The roof did not blow off for him. It fell on him. The moment Lyles crossed that finish line ahead of Jordan Anthony, he turned around and did something that needs no explanation. He pretended to hold up a championship belt. Right there on the track, in front of everybody. Same belt Anthony had waved around back in March. No words, no interview needed. The belt was back. Lyles took it in 9.88 seconds flat. Then came the interview, and Lyles was not done talking. He told reporters straight up, 10 meters before the finish line, I knew the race was over and I had already won it. I was thinking about how I was going to celebrate. Read that again. With 90 meters of the race already behind him and 10 meters still to go, Noah Lyles was not thinking about running. He was picking his celebration. That is not arrogance. That is a man who is completely locked in and completely untouchable right now. He also said, I am not showing up anywhere to lose. And then he went on Instagram and posted a story with 7 words that have now gone all over the internet. He wrote, got to rock these kids to sleep. Those kids he is talking about. One of them is Jordan Anthony. But the bigger name, the one that has the whole track world buzzing right now, is Gout, 18 years old, from Australia. And this kid is not just fast, he is historically fast. On April 12, 2026 at the Sydney Olympic Park during the 2026 Australian Athletics Championships, Gout stepped into the blocks for the 200-meter final and ran 19.67 seconds with a legal wind reading of plus 1.7 meters per second. That time did not just break a record, it shattered the under-20 world record that belonged to American star Ariane Knighton, who ran 19.69 back in 2022. World Athletics has now officially ratified that time. No asterisk, no debate. Gout is now the fastest teenager to ever walk the planet Earth. Here is what makes that number terrifying. At 18 years old, Usain Bolt's lifetime best in the 200-meter was 19.93 seconds. Gout at the same age is 0.26 seconds faster than the greatest sprinter in human history was at that exact same point in his career. In sprinting, 0,026 seconds is not a small gap. That is the difference between winning a gold medal and not even making the final. And Gout is still only 18. Sprinters peak between 23 and 26 years old. He has at minimum 6 more years of natural physical development ahead of him. Lyles has actually spoken about Gout directly, and what he said tells you everything. He looked into the camera and said, he is more talented than I was. Coming from the reigning Olympic 100-meter champion and 4-time 200-meter world champion, that is not a compliment. That is a warning wrapped inside a compliment. Because in the same breath, Lyles also said talent alone will not survive the professional grind. He knows exactly what Gout is. And he is not scared. He is ready. Because on June 16th, 2026, at the Ostrava Golden Spike meet in the Czech Republic, Noah Lyles and Gout are going to share a track for real. The event is the 150-meter race. Not a championship, not the Olympics, but it is the first major head-to-head moment between the man who owns the sport right now and the teenager the sport is being built around next. If Gout wins that race, the conversation shifts overnight. A new era officially begins. If Lyles wins, his Instagram post becomes the most famous 7 words of the 2026 season. Either way, June 16th just became the most important date in track and field right now. Rome told us Noah Lyles is not fading. He is not slowing down. He is not handing anything to anybody. He took back the belt from Jordan Anthony. He called out Gout in front of the whole world. And he did it all while running the second fastest 100-meter time on the planet this year. The king is not stepping aside, and Gout is not waiting. June 16th is coming fast, and somebody is about to get rocked to sleep. A 16-year-old just ran so fast that people watching couldn't believe what they saw. No hype, no exaggeration, just a teenager from a small city in Australia who stepped onto a track and did something that nobody had done in 15 years. His name is Ayo Lubenda, and if you don't know that name yet, you're about to. Last Friday, at the Queensland State Championships, Ayo ran 100 meters in 10.35 seconds. That's not just fast, that's fast enough to pass the first round at this year's World Championships. Think about that for a second. A 16-year-old kid from Townsville just ran a time that grown adults competing at the biggest track meet on the planet couldn't beat in the opening rounds. The previous record for 16-year-olds at this championship was 10.73 seconds, set back in 2010 by a runner named Hugh Donovan. That record sat untouched for 15 years. Ayo didn't just break it, he destroyed it by 0.38 seconds. Before this race, his personal best was 10.42 seconds, meaning he improved his own time and smashed a 15-year-old record in the same run. When the race started, Ayo exploded out of the blocks, took the lead immediately, and never looked back. By the finish line, the gap between him and everyone else was massive. After the race, former Olympic runner Paul Dybella, who competed for Australia at both the 2000 Sydney Olympics and the 2004 Athens Olympics, came forward and gave Ayo his gold medal. That's the kind of moment that tells you everything about how serious people took what they just watched. When reporters asked Ayo how he felt, he said, "Man, I feel feel amazing. I was kind of hoping for a time like that, and I wasn't thinking too much about it, but I'm really grateful. His coach told him to stay calm, do what he normally does, and don't change anything. Everything went according to plan. Now here's where the story gets even more interesting. Ayo was born in Mozambique in 2009. When he was just 4 years old, his family moved to Australia in 2013. He's currently a Year 11 student at Calvary Christian College in Townsville, which sits in northern Queensland. Last year, he became the first 15-year-old in North Queensland history to run faster than 11 seconds in the 100 meters, clocking 10.80 seconds at the North Queensland Championships. People noticed him then, but outside his local area, almost nobody knew his name. One race changed all of that. If you follow sprinting, you already know the name Gout. He's 17 years old, also from Queensland, and he's been called the next Usain Bolt for very good reason. At the Golden Spike meet in Ostrava, Czech Republic, Gout ran the 200 meters in 20.02 seconds, breaking an Australian national record that had stood for 56 years.